Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to talk about the books I've read so far in February. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. There's a lot of books to talk about in this video. This is kind of a bonus video for this month. I didn't normally plan to film this, but there are so many books I've already read or listened to this month that I really need to talk about before my memory is gone. The memory Amanda lost, right? So let's just, without further ado, dive right in, okay? Because we got lots to chat about. All the books will be linked down below. Timestamps are below. You know the drill. Let's go ahead. So the first book I read this month is Just the Nicest Person by Christy Barrett. I gave this 3.75 out of 5 stars. It's like a 3.5 to 3.75-ish. I think I rounded it up on Goodreads to 4 stars, but overall it was truly like a 3.75. Like, if I could give that, that's what it would be. This is book 1 in the True Crime Junkies series, and this is our Christian book club pick for January. And I talked a little bit about it in some other videos, but I had a really good time reading this. This was something that was a surprise for me. It was a Christian suspense that I didn't know that I would actually really love this, but I had a good time. Like, my buddy read this with my friend Teresa over at My Cozy Reading Life, and we just had the best time reading it. The book is one that's definitely going to keep you on the edge of your seat. It has a really great Alaska setting. I love a good Alaska setting personally, and it didn't have just one plot point. You kind of have secondary plot points that could be explored in future books. This is a series that's on Kindle Unlimited. If you're interested in that, definitely one that you're going to want to pick up if you're a suspense fan, okay? It kind of is reminiscent of a Nancy Mail. I like Nancy Mail a little bit better than this one, but this is very reminiscent of that, okay? So this story is about Andy. She's a previous attorney, and she's in Alaska in her ice road truck, we'll say, and her truck ends up veering off in a snowstorm there, and there's this man in the middle of the road, and she's like, what's this guy doing in the middle of the road? She thinks it's someone from her past that's kind of after her. Gets out the truck, which I'm like, girl, why you get in the truck? But anyway, at the very beginning is she gets out the truck, and he gone. And comes Duke McAllister, who's a former investigator, kind of gone tour guide in Alaska, and he has come to Andy's rescue. He has a couple clients with him, Mariella and Michael, their brother and sister, and so Andy gets in the car with all 3 of them, and then they're like, somebody's shooting out the back of their car. The windows gets broken, and they're like, what? Is it this guy who was in the road that they didn't see? Huh? Well, who is this? So they're kind of like rushing to get out of there. Who was that guy? What happened? They never saw him to begin with, but then somebody has shot out the back seat or the back window of the vehicle when they're leaving. So it's like somebody's after them. They get to a local trading post, and they're all talking about this podcaster who has kind of gone off air. Okay, they're like, where did he go? What's going on here? The girl at the trading post, her name is Simi, and she says that this guy Craig, she thought was her dad, and so she's like, can you please go check on him? He's gone off air. We can't get a hold of him, whatever. Well, you as the reader know from the first chapter that Craig has been killed, okay? Craig is a true crime podcaster, and he is about to announce the identity of who he thinks the killer is of this case he's been working on for many months, and the killer is right there with him in his place and kills him, okay? Though that's what happens. Girl, it was insane. The whole thing popped off from the very beginning. That's why I said fast paced. I gotta know, right? Like, I was like, wait a minute, this intro, what? So, back up and punt here. Our people at the trading post go to Craig's house. They don't know he's been killed. They find him. The killer's watching them. We get the killer's point of view. All this stuff goes down. And now we got a full murder mystery where our people are trying to figure this out, okay? They're working together. They really work well together, and I loved seeing Duke as a good protector guy trying to help Andy, and Mariella was fun. She's a social media influencer. She's like decorating a board, trying to like get a crime board going on here, and her brother Michael is like this technology kind of guy who can like try to figure everything out from a text standpoint. So it was a good group of people working together, but this book, I will say, was not perfect just because the girl got on my nerves, okay? While I love the setting and learning all about the dangers of living in Alaska and just how spread out their police force is and how they are limited on resources and all that, that was a very eye-opening experience to learn about as well. And I like Duke and Mariella and Simi, the girl at the trading post, and, and Michael. They were all good characters. Andy got on my nerves. Like, she made dumb decisions at times. I'm like, girl, what you doing? She would make those comments, oh, because I'm a woman. Like, girl, it was like all too much of that, oh, because I'm a woman stuff. And I was like, girl, you got on my nerves. Like, let him help you. You know, he's trying to help you. But, so that stuff kind of got on my nerves. And there's some of the decisions she made I was not a fan of. But, you know, she almost got the petty pen. But I will say, I give her a little grace. We'll see what happens, okay? Now, there was some good points here where Duke was explaining how or why he was a believer in the Lord to Andy, and she is not really involved or has a relationship in her faith with the Lord anymore. So I'm interested to see her faith journey grow in this. And there was some side plots, like I said, of Duke, and he has his missing fiance. So that's probably going to be explored in future books. She's been missing for several years. Then, of course, we have this whole thing with, like, Andy and that guy that was in the middle of the road. We still don't, like, know what's going on with that. So that's probably going to be explored in future books as well. But this book was mostly about Craig, who is his killer, and all that stuff. So they really take everything by the brains, honey, and they're trying to figure out who the killer was of Craig, and it was just a really good time. So yeah, solid Christian suspense that I highly recommend if you're interested in that. And it's just a good series to check out. A new author. I think she wrote really well. And yeah, I'm definitely interested in continuing on, okay? Next book that I read was Marmee by Sarah Miller. You already kind of saw me talk about this a little bit as well in another video, I think. But I was about halfway through this. I give this 5 stars, y'all. It truly was a very captivating exploration all about Marmee from Little Women. You do need to read Little Women before you read this, personally, because this is everything that happens in Little Women from Marmee's perspective in these journal entries. And they just don't feel like traditional standard journal entries. They really feel like they're telling a story. I love this book so much. I already read this also with Teresa, and we really felt like that this could have been written by Louisa May Alcott. It really just takes you on this journey of the events in Little Women, plus some things that you could assume would have happened from Marmee's point of view in those journal entries. And it brings so much depth to her character. I think that anybody who has read Little Women would appreciate this. I'm so glad I read this, because after reading Little Women in December, I will link the vlog down below if you've not seen that. It was a Vlogmas video. It's pretty lengthy, but I had the best time reading it. After reading this, it really this book makes me really appreciate Marmee's character even more. She was already my favorite character in Little Women, because as a mother, I really relate to her in a lot of things, and she just was such a good inspiration to me as a mom, and it just feels like it goes with the story of Little Women, okay? I think this author really skillfully weaved in a story that uncovers Marmee's joys, her struggles, and the choices that shape her into this compassionate and wise mother that we all know from Little Women. So seeing these other struggles that she could have went through during this time that we would assume could have happened during this time was so eye-opening, very heartbreaking. I sobbed so many times in this book while reading it, specifically in the ending. Like I said, I could relate to Marmee as a wife and a mother, and throughout the story many times. It's very nice to see more details of her relationship with Amos, because in Little Women, you don't see a lot of that, you know, where he's gone off to war. You're more of like focused on the daughters and the sisters together and her daughters. But like to see what Marmee could have felt like while he was gone to war, and everything that she was going through as a mom emotionally, trying to take care of her daughters, is very vulnerable and real to me to read through in her journal entries. And for all, this is a must read for anyone who's a fan of Little Women, because I think that Sarah Miller's portrayal of Marmee really breathes this fresh life into a timeless character that we've all grown to know and love. The next book I read was Rocky Road by Becky Wade. This is book 2 in a Sons of Scandal romance. Book 1 is Memory Lane, and I already mentioned I did give this 4 stars in my romance rec video, but we're going to talk about it more in depth here. Romance is between Jude and, is it Gemma? My brain. Gemma? We're going to say Gemma? My brain. Okay, I can't remember the pronunciation. I'm sorry. And I listened to the audiobook. What? But this has fake dating, some witty banter. It's got some funny brothers in this, of course. You know, we're following brothers from each book, okay? And then this is a clean Christian romance. There's some faith content in this, specifically at the ending, that I personally enjoyed. And there's like this whole perfume business from Gemma in here, and a past mystery that she's trying to figure out for her great-grandmother that I personally liked. Our main guy in this is FBI agent Jude Camden, and again, our main girl is perfume maker Gemma Claire. And Jude approaches Gemma in an effort to take down her criminal cousin from France, who is telling her family's perfume secrets, basically. And so they go undercover, they have a fake dating relationship, and then they start to catch real feelings. Things get complicated, though, because Gemma has a current long-distance boyfriend, and Jude is not allowed to date any of his clients from the FBI standards, right? And so genuine emotions start to kind of come to the surface. Gemma realizes that her current relationship with her boyfriend lacks true love, and that prompts her to kind of move on from him, break it off, and it's pretty early on in the book, I guess within the first 30%, and explore a more deeper connection and relationship with Jude. Like I said, we have this side mystery going on here with her great-grandmother, and she's trying to help her remember her own love story, and it has like a little bit of a historical setting there as you're kind of going back, and they're kind of going back in time of her life and trying to figure out her story, her love story, because she has dementia, and she doesn't remember, thinks she's 102, I'm pretty sure, and they're trying to help her remember her love story. Now, thoughts. I really enjoyed the first chapter of this. It made me laugh out loud from the very first scene, and I'd say that after, I wasn't truly invested. Okay, let's just say that out of the way. I was not invested or connecting with our characters, you know, until maybe the 30 to 40% mark. They're complete opposites attract. I wasn't connected to them until the real fake dating started. And I was honestly nervous about her having a boyfriend. You already know how I feel about that stuff. I think there are better ways to do a fake dating trope. You didn't need the boyfriend, I guess, that she had, because he wasn't even really involved in it. You know, it was a very long distance relationship. You can tell from the very beginning that there's like nothing there with them, that they're very casually dating, but I still don't love that personally. So I was nervous for at least 30%. I'm like, we need to get this guy out of here. She needs to break up with him before anything happens, like, or I'm going to really feel some type of way. And yeah, I think if you're going to do it, Becky handled it well in this, but I didn't personally like that part. So that's part of why this is not a 5-star, it's a 4-star. But, you know, overall, I did enjoy seeing them get to know each other and how different they were. Jude is very serious and businesslike, and Gemma is very bubbly and outgoing, and, you know, Jude's over here quote poetry to her, and it kind of felt like a Mr. Darcy moment. So I like those things, you know. And the family elements in this, you know, we see the brothers kind of interact a little bit. The next book is about Max, and so yeah, the faith elements in this are great to see. Specifically the ending, some things kind of pop off at the end. It kind of becomes like a suspense moment at the end of this, and so I like those parts. But again, those they liked a little bit of the chemistry at the beginning here for me personally, and it took a little bit, and like they really weren't together a ton because we had those side plots of like them working together for this whole cousin thing, and with the perfume and the great-grandmother. So like some of those scenes did take away from like seeing the full romance blossom. So for those reasons, it's a 4-star, but it's still one I would recommend. I'm so glad that I read this. I read this as an early copy from Becky, and those are just my honest thoughts. You know, I still think this is a series that a lot of you all would like. It's a clean romance. I really support Becky in all of her books that she writes. I think that she has such a great craft of writing, and you know, I've loved so many of her books, and I will continue to read her books. I cannot wait to read book 3 in the series. And so, yeah, I think that this is a really great, clean Christian romance that a lot of y'all would enjoy. If you like that fake dating, kind of FBI type stuff, I think you would enjoy this. The next book I read is an advanced reader copy of All My Secrets by Lynn Austen. And let me just say, I got this on NetGalley, and I had the audio copy, and I had an ebook copy. I don't know, they had an audio and I didn't know it, so I was like, I'm grabbing this. So I listened to the audiobook of this, and it was phenomenal. The narration was good. Lynn Austen never disappoints. Why do I forget about her books? Like, truly, she writes so well. This is a Christian historical fiction. It's a multi-generational story. It's set in the Gilded Age, which is 1898 in New York City. We have some beautiful faith elements in this. There's lots of forgiveness and redemption. The story is going to be so immersive. Like for me, I need to know. I was so invested. I think I listened to this audiobook in one day. It was definitely a 5-star read. This is a story of 3 women, and it explores so much in first loves, grief, history, high society lifestyle, and the Christian faith, as well as the essence of what really matters in life. I really like those things. So in this, we really get to see the strength of these Stanhope women, okay? The Stanhope women is what we're going to call them. And this is following the passing of Arthur Stanhope, and these women are all left uncertain of their future, okay? We have Junietta, Sylvia, and Adelaide. And they are grappling with what they're going to do next after he has passed away, with their family's estate, all this stuff we don't know, the will's being read, there's all this stuff that's unraveling, secrets, and we're not aware of in the will. Secrets start to unravel from Junietta, who is the grandmother of Adelaide, and Sylvia is the mom of Adelaide. And so we see their stories. It's definitely told in multiple POVs here. They're just trying to navigate through the aftermath of all of these things. Family secrets start to come out, and it really just sheds a light on their family history here. And so, yeah, like I said, I really love this story. I was so invested. The audiobook narration really made it so top tier for me. A lot about Sylvia and Junietta's past. We see the beauty of the gospel portrayed in this story several times as our characters are grappling with their past decisions, mistakes that were made, and they're contemplating these future decisions and choices. And so, yeah, there's this central theme here of helping the poor and giving to charity, as well as a lot of discussions around wealth, the dynamics of marriage, and just the choice of, are you going to marry for financial security or love? A lot of that stuff was talked a lot about back then. A lot of women did not marry for love. They had to marry for financial security here. And so, we see just all those things being discussed in this book, and the storytelling that Lynn Austin has, it's undeniable. I'm thankful to have read this. I need a physical copy because it's just, again, I need to read more Lynn Austin. Like, you all tell me all the time, read this from her, and I have several books of hers on my shelf that I just need to prioritize. This book is now the 4th book I've read by her, and I cannot recommend it enough. I think if you like a good Christian historical fiction, you're going to enjoy this. The next new release that I read was Fatal Witness by Patricia Bradley. This is book 2 in the Pearl River series, and this is a Christian romantic suspense series, and I just love Patricia Bradley's books. Like, there's something about her. Great romantic suspense author. I'm always on edge. I love her setting in Tennessee, because I'm a Tennessee girly, so that always just adds a bonus for me. But in this one, we are following I should say the first book in this is Counterattack. I do recommend that you read that. I think you have a better experience because we see some characters from that first book in here. You could technically read this as a standalone, but I think you're going to get a better experience if you read book 1 first. So we get to see, if you read book 1, Alex and Nathan, they're back in this. Okay, we get to see a lot of them. They are helping this K-9 officer, Mark Lassiter, work the cold case of Danny Bennett's parents' murder. Danny is in Montana, and she is in her 30s, and she witnessed her parents' murder when she was a little girl, and apparently all those memories are blocked out. She is living with her uncle at this time. From the very beginning of what really went down, you get to see that, but she doesn't remember it. And so Mark Lassiter finds her because her grandmother actually finds a picture of Danny in a pottery magazine, and she's like, that looks like my granddaughter, or what she would look like today. And she's been searching for her all these years, and Danny didn't even know it. Grandmother May Richmond finds her, and the story goes on from here as Mark contacts her. Danny is coming to Tennessee to figure all this out and see if they're truly related, because she's curious about her past as well. The story just kind of goes on from here. This book kept me anxious from the very beginning. Like I said, as a Tennessean myself, I love the setting. The suspense is top tier. I did give this 4.5. Read it up to 5 stars. All these reveals that happen. And so someone's always breaking in somewhere, watching you, tracking our characters, and there's all these different suspects, and you're going to find it difficult to figure out who the killer is. I didn't know. So we're really trying to figure out Danny's parents' murder. So there is a little bit of romance in this between Mark and Danny, and I love that. Really enjoyed seeing that. I would have liked a little bit more, and that's why it's kind of like a 4.5. I wish that I could have seen more of them together. There's always my romance heart once more, right? Because Mark is such a great guy. He has this past trauma that he's trying to work through, and he's kind of scared to love again. Danny was willing to be right there with him through every emotion, and I really enjoyed that. I think that the Grandma May, she really just steals the show in this. Okay, she's feisty, she's strong-willed. We love to see it, and the faith content in this was very good. It was beautifully woven in, and I like to see Nathan and Alex from book 1 back in here helping out with all the suspense stuff. So yeah, it was just solid romantic suspense. I love this series. Can't wait for the 3rd book. You already know. Next book I read was a big surprise, and that is Sarah Sunden's new release, Embers in the London Sky. I gave this 5 stars. What? Again, just like Lynn Austin, I have all these Sarah Sunden books, and I need to read them because she is a top tier historical fiction author, Christian historical fiction author, and I love her books. Every time I read one, I've only read 2 now, but every time I read them, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. I was so invested in this. So this is a World War II story. She writes primarily World War II stories. I know some people are not big into World War II stories, but this one, like, was just so in depth for me. It's we got war, but we also have mystery, a bit of romance, and this mother who's trying to find her child. And I am just like, what? From the very first chapter, I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? This book starts off with our main character of Alita, and this is a very emotional introduction, okay? We have Alita with her abusive husband and her young son during their escape from the Netherlands. And while she's asleep, her husband is over here being awful, and he's like, saying all this stuff about the 3-year-old kid, and I'm like, look here, dude, you about to have to get hurt. You about to get out of here, because he was, like, embarrassed of his own son, because the son does not have fingers on his hands or something, and, like, the special needs mom and me was ready to just pounce. So, you know, he's yelling and saying, you know, the kid needs to be quiet and all these things. Well, while she is asleep, Alita's asleep, he ends up giving their son away to a random couple who's going to London. And Alita is like, what happened? Why did you do this? Who did you give him to? He's like, I don't know. He just wanted to get rid of his own kid. He was just like the scum of the earth, honestly. And so things happen with like a war attack or something, and he ends up getting killed. And I was like, okay, dude, yeah, there you go. That's what happened. So anyway, I'm just kidding. But he was really a bad guy, okay? So I was glad he wasn't around for a long time, because the emotional abuse she was going through, I was like, oh my gosh, this is popping off in the first chapter, you know? But she is on her own now, trying to find her son, and she's on this quest, okay? And so we are going through this entire journey of her trying to find her son, and she's just devastated, left a widow and alone, and she's just desperate to find her son in London. She makes her way there, and she ends up meeting this BBC reporter, Hugh Collingwood, and Hugh and Alita end up working together to find her son. They, along with this crazy unraveling of a murder mystery. That was a really nice layer that Sarah added. I don't know if she's done that before, but she added this murder mystery that I loved, okay? And this is all occurring while in the midst of bombs going off in London, okay? That's pretty much the whole gist of the story. And, you know, honestly, as a mother of a young son who is the same or similar age as her son, this tugged at my heartstrings in so many ways. I was very invested. I was connected to our characters. There's a slow burn romance, okay, between Hugh and Alita. I loved that. And it was very beautiful in the end with them. They went through so much together. This faith element in this book, y'all, the faith elements, it just, wow, it blew me away, because it really just shows us that God never leaves us nor forsakes us, and He is truly walking with us, even in the valley of shadow of death. You really see it in here with our characters. I love the ending. I was in tears. Your heart's going to be broken, but it's going to be restored, honey. I promise you. It's just, you're transported right there, and all the events that everything's taking place. It's a perfect Christian historical fiction with everything that I love in those type of books, okay? So I'm so glad I read this. I pre-ordered this. So I'm glad that I had pre-ordered it, because as soon as I got it, I was like so glad that I had loved it already, because you never know, but I was just so invested in this, and it was definitely one of my favorite books of the year. The next book I read was Lady of Disguise by Melanie Dickerson. This is book 6 in the Daracot Tales, and this is released this month, and I had the audio copy of this, and I pre-ordered it, okay? This can be read as a standalone, okay? There's really nothing that spoils any of the books in the series, okay? So feel free to read this as a standalone if you want, but this is a Jack and the Beanstalk retelling, and I really enjoyed this one. This is set in the 1300s, England and some in Scotland, and we see this girl, Louisa, and she dreams of finding this rumored giant's treasure in Scotland. Her father had passed away, and Louisa and her sister, they go live with their greedy uncle. And Louisa's determined to run away and find the treasure, basically. So she ends up running away after, like, there's all this discussion about marrying off the girls and to this crazy guy, which usually in these books, you're going to see somebody trying to be married off and the girl's running off. That's usually what happens in every book in the series, almost, okay? From what I remember. And so, but in this one, it's a little different, because she ends up disguising herself as a boy using the name Jack, kind of like Jack and the Beanstalk, and encounters this young knight, Sir Charles, and he accompanies her on her journey, and he knows immediately that she's the girl. Like, it's obvious that she's not really disguised well, and he doesn't really reveal his knowledge in this, but he wants to help her along and as much as he can, okay? He has his big heart, he wants to help her. Things kind of come to a head here. Things get revealed. They start to have feelings for one another, and the story goes on from here as her uncle is on the hunt for her, and they continue their journey to find the treasure. Now, I think this is one of my more favorite ones in the series. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked Louisa and how she would do anything to help protect her sister. She's kind of on this run to, like, get things going, get the treasure so she can like get back and get her sister and take care of her. And she was very determined in her journey, right? And she was always wanting to help others along the way. And then Sir Charles, he was a very honorable man, and I love a good protector in a story, and that's exactly what he was. But honestly, the reason that this stands out is like there's a really good faith, there's some good faith parts, I should say, in this story with this giant, okay? Like the whole, you know, Jack and the Beanstalk, there's a giant, that kind of stuff. Very good faith and prayer content in this section. It's heartwarming. I like that. Now, I will say, I'm like, wait, what happened with him again? You know, like, wait, I don't think there was any kind of real good resolution that I can remember with him, but overall, I like the story of him with the giant. And so, yeah, the romance was fast, but like I said, but it was sweet. And yeah, I recommend this to anybody who likes a good fairy tale, wants a nice, fluffy, sweet read. Pick this up. Now, the next book I read was Prince Caspian by C.S. Lewis. This is a book, well, I don't know what, depends on what order you're reading it in, I ain't gonna say, but it says it's book 4 on the other side. It could be book 2, depending on what order you read it, publication or whatever this is. I don't even know what this is, but it's whatever's in my box. So this is the 4th one I've read. Oh, how about that? So yeah, honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say. It's just really nice to be back in this world. I get 4 stars. You know, I'm reading this series as an adult for the first time, and you know, I've not even seen the movie still. I'm waiting. Every time I dive back into this book, though, it's a very it almost feels nostalgic, even though I didn't read it as a kid, but it's an amazing world. And C.S. Lewis just had this beautiful mind to create this. It's just so good. And so in this one, our characters, Peter, Edmund, and Susan, and Lucy, they are back in the world of Narnia, and lots of actions going on in this one. And you know, there's some parts I liked more than others, but you know, this is still such a fun read. And you know, you get to see the talking animals, and Aslan shows back up. Love him. And you know, the allegory is of course really great. And you can kind of see a parallel to the Christian life in this book throughout the series. A good example is like, who believes in Aslan nowadays? Well, you can have a direct correlation to the criticisms that believers get, you know, for us believing in Jesus and things like that. And you really see the struggles in the Christian life portrayed in this and what they're going through. And then Lucy's journey is very important to me because she has to go against some of her friends and family to follow Aslan, which is like Jesus allegory, of course, again. And so not everyone can see the path, but she can. And she makes some mistakes, and Aslan is making it clear that he is still compassionate and loving to her. It's really great, you know, like, I love this. It's a good series. It's just one that's timeless that you could reread again and again. The next book I read was Submerged by Danny Petrie. This is a reread for me. I read this in 2021, but y'all know that this series is one I want to try to finish this year. So book 2 is on my 24 and 2024 that the Hubs picked out. And so I'm not much of a rereader, but I did reread this one, and it did check off some reading challenge boxes. So Submerged is book 1 in the Alaskan Courage series. This is a Christian romantic suspense, and I'm really glad that I reread this because I had forgotten so much, y'all. I read, like I said, read it in 2021, and I never continued the series. So now that I want to get back into it, it's very important that I reread this. It's a solid romantic suspense set in Alaska. This girl, Bailey, and she vowed never to return back to Alaska, but her aunt was killed in a plane crash, and evidence shows more to the case than what they thought. And so she proves to be this asset in the case, and she's helping investigators. Well, Bailey's past mistakes keep coming to the forefront. They're following her around. But she's a new creation in Jesus, and you know, she knows it doesn't define her anymore, but she just hopes that everyone else sees it that way. And get some rude people, of course, in this, you know. But we have Cole McKenna, and he stands up for her, honey. But he is the guy that she left behind when she left 10 years ago, and he still cares for her, and it's kind of like a second chance romance, we'll say. He knows that Bailey's really changed, and he's encouraging her in all of this, and he still has feelings for her, like I said, and when she comes back, and he's going to stand up to anybody who's going to treat her bad because he knows she's worthy, and I love that. He knows that she is a new creation in Christ, and he's just a great character. So, yeah, they end up working to piece together the case, and the rest goes on from here. And this book really just shows how unconditional God's love is. I love the faith content. The characters really make the story, and I ended up giving this 5 stars upon my reread. I gave this like 4 to 4.5 last time for some reason in 2021, but like rereading this, it was really a 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved it. So hopefully I can read book 2 soon. Now, okay, I don't want to talk about this because I got a vlog coming out Monday, but I read Powerless, y'all. What? I got it done. Okay, Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and I'm not gonna say anything. I ain't gonna say anything, but I have a whole like 40-minute almost vlog on Monday. We'll talk about this in the end of month wrap up, but all my thoughts are coming out Monday, so I want to save it, okay? Okay, so we'll move on from that. I'm going to leave that on the side, okay? That's everything I've read this month so far. Like, there's so much going on. So many books left for the rest of the month. We'll see what the last 2 weeks of the month have in store for me. Let me know if you've read any of these books down below in the comments. We'll chat below. Reviews for these books will be linked down below on my blog, and the links, like on Amazon or Baker Bookhouse, will be on the actual blog post for you to check out if you're interested. So thank you so much for watching. Let's chat below in the comments as always. I hope you found a new book that you want to read and will enjoy. I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, y'all.